The vast expanse of space was quiet. Too quiet. For the Galactic Coalition, this silence was not peaceful. It was the calm before a storm. A storm that threatened to wipe out their entire civilization. For years, the Coalition had fought against the Devourer Empire. These ruthless conquerors had already destroyed countless worlds. Now they were closing in on the last strongholds of the Coalition. Hope was fading fast. In a dimly lit war room on the Coalition's capital planet, alien leaders from various species gathered. Their faces, though different in shape and color, all wore the same worried expression. "We cannot hold out much longer," said Zax, the insectoid commander of the Coalition's dwindling fleet. His antennae drooped sadly. "Our defenses are crumbling," added Lyra, a blue-skinned diplomat. Her 4 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of her distress. The room fell silent as the weight of their situation sank in. Just then, a young technician burst through the door. His scales were flushed green with excitement. "Leaders, we've detected something," he shouted, waving a data pad wildly. All eyes turned to him. "What is it?" asked Zax sharply. The technician took a deep breath. "A ship. A massive ship. Unlike anything we've ever seen before. It's approaching our space at incredible speed." Murmurs of fear and curiosity filled the room. Was this another threat? Or could it be help? "Show us," commanded Lyra. The technician pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a sleek, angular vessel. Its hull was dark and smooth, bristling with what looked like powerful weapons. It was easily twice the size of the Coalition's largest battleship. "By the stars," whispered Zax. "What kind of ship is that?" No one had an answer. The ship didn't match any known designs in the galaxy. Its power readings were off the charts. As they watched, the strange ship slowed its approach. It came to a stop just outside the Coalition's defensive line. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, a transmission crackled through their communication system. A deep, unfamiliar voice spoke. "Attention, unknown vessels and installations. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Federation battleship Humanity's Hope. We come in peace and offer assistance. Please respond." The room erupted in chaos. Earth, humanity. These were words none of them had heard before. "It's a new species," exclaimed Lyra, her eyes wide with amazement. "But how can they have such advanced technology?" wondered Zax. "We've never even heard of them before." As the Coalition leaders debated what to do, the massive ship hung in space, waiting. Its very presence seemed to change the feeling in the room from despair to something else, something that felt a lot like hope. Finally, Zax made a decision. "Open a channel," he ordered. With shaking hands, a communications officer established a link to the mysterious ship. "This is Commander Zax of the Galactic Coalition," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. We welcome you, Captain Chen. Your arrival is most unexpected." There was a pause, then Captain Chen's voice came through again. "Commander Zax, we're picking up signs of recent battles in this sector. Are you in need of assistance?" Zax looked around at his fellow leaders. They nodded encouragingly. "Yes," Zax replied, his voice cracking slightly. "Yes, we are in desperate need of help. Our civilization faces extinction at the hands of a merciless enemy." "Understood, Commander," said Captain Chen. Her tone was calm and confident. "We're sending a shuttle to your location now. Let's talk face to face and see how we can help." As the transmission ended, excited chatter filled the war room. For the first time in years, there was a spark of real hope. Outside, the massive human battleship loomed large against the star-filled backdrop. Its arrival marked not just first contact with a new species, but perhaps the turning point in a war that had seemed all but lost. The Coalition leaders watched in awe as a small shuttle detached from the giant ship and headed towards their planet. They were about to meet these humans face to face. Little did they know, this encounter would change the fate of the entire galaxy forever. The shuttle from the human battleship landed smoothly in the Coalition's main hangar. A group of alien leaders, including Zax and Lyra, waited nervously as the door opened with a soft hiss. Out stepped a tall figure in a dark uniform. This was Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Federation. She looked almost like some of the bipedal species in the Coalition, but there were clear differences. Her skin was a light brown, her eyes dark and alert. She walked with confidence, surveying her surroundings quickly. "Greetings," Captain Chen said, raising her hand in a gesture of peace. "I'm Captain Sarah Chen. It's an honor to meet you all." Zack stepped forward, his insectoid legs clicking on the metal floor. "Welcome, Captain. I am Commander Zax. We are most grateful for your offer of help." As they spoke, more humans exited the shuttle. The aliens watched in fascination. These humans came in different colors and sizes, but all moved with the same purposeful energy as their captain. "Perhaps we could move somewhere more comfortable to talk," suggested Lyra, her 4 eyes blinking rapidly. Captain Chen nodded, and they all moved to the war room. As they walked, the humans looked around with obvious curiosity. Some of the alien crew members whispered and pointed, equally fascinated by the newcomers. In the war room, Captain Chen and her officers sat down with the Coalition leaders. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. "Tell us, Captain," Zax began, "how is it that we've never encountered your species before? Your technology seems quite advanced." Chen smiled. "We're relatively new to deep space travel. Earth only achieved faster-than-light capabilities about 50 years ago. We've been exploring cautiously, trying not to interfere with other civilizations." The aliens exchanged surprised looks. Only 50 years of space travel, and yet their ship was more advanced than anything in the Coalition fleet. "But your battleship," Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen." "The Humanity's Hope is our latest model," Chen explained. "We've had to advance quickly. Our first encounters with alien life weren't always peaceful." This statement caused a stir among the Coalition members. These humans had already faced and overcome other threats. "Now," Chen continued, her tone becoming serious, "tell us about this enemy you're facing. How can we help?" For the next hour, Zax and the others explained about the Devourer Empire. They described the brutal attacks, the worlds lost, the millions of lives destroyed. As they spoke, the humans' expressions grew grim. "This is worse than we thought," Chen said when they finished. She turned to one of her officers. "Lieutenant Park, contact Earth. We're going to need reinforcements." The alien leaders looked at each other in shock. These humans were willing to commit more ships to help them. "Captain," Zax said hesitantly, "we're grateful, but are you sure? The Devourers are extremely dangerous. We wouldn't want to drag your people into a war you can't win." Chen's eyes flashed with determination. "Commander Zax, if there's one thing you should know about humans, it's that we don't back down from a fight, especially not when innocent lives are at stake." Her words sent a ripple of excitement through the room. For the first time in years, the Coalition leaders felt a spark of real hope. "Now," Chen continued, standing up, "let's take a look at your defenses. I have some ideas that might help strengthen them." As they left the war room, news of the humans' arrival was spreading through the Coalition. Alien crew members watched in awe as Chen and her team moved through the station, examining systems and suggesting improvements. The humans worked quickly and efficiently, upgrading weapons, reinforcing shields, and optimizing communication networks. Their technology seemed almost magical to the Coalition engineers. By the end of the day, the mood on the station had completely changed. Where before there had been despair, now there was cautious optimism. The massive human battleship, visible through every window, stood as a symbol of unexpected hope. As night fell, Zax stood looking out at the Humanity's Hope. He felt a mix of emotions: gratitude, amazement, and a little fear. These humans were unlike any species he had ever encountered. He couldn't help but wonder, what other surprises did these newcomers have in store? And would it be enough to turn the tide against the Devourers? Only time would tell. But for now, at least, the future looked a little brighter. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, preparing for the inevitable attack from the Devourer Empire. Despite their differences, a sense of camaraderie began to grow between the two groups. Captain Chen and Commander Zack stood on the main bridge of the Coalition's Central Command Station. They were looking at a large holographic map of the surrounding space. "Your positioning here is all wrong," Chen said, pointing to a cluster of defense satellites. "You're leaving this whole sector exposed." Zax's antennae twitched nervously. "But that's how we've always done it. Our strategists say." Chen cut him off gently. "Your strategists haven't faced an enemy like this before. Trust me, we need to change things up." Zax hesitated, then nodded. "Very well, Captain. We'll do it your way." As they continued to plan, an alarm suddenly blared through the station. Red lights flashed, and crew members rushed to their stations. "What's happening?" Chen demanded. A young alien technician, his scales pale with fear, looked up from his console. "Devourer ships, a whole fleet of them, just dropped out of hyperspace." Zax's compound eyes widened in panic. "It's too soon. We're not ready." But Chen was already in motion. "We're as ready as we'll ever be," she said firmly. "Sound battle stations. Get every fighter we have in the air. And tell humanity's hope to move into attack position." The next few minutes were chaos as both human and alien crews scrambled to their posts. Outside, the massive human battleship moved gracefully into position, its weapons systems powering up. The Devourer fleet appeared on their view screens. Dozens of black, spiky ships that looked more like floating fortresses than vessels. At their center was a ship so large it dwarfed even humanity's hope. "By the stars," Zax whispered. "That's the Devourer flagship. We've never seen it this close to our borders before." Chen's face was grim but determined. "Well, they're about to wish they'd stayed away. All ships, prepare to engage on my mark." The tension in the air was thick as both fleets faced each other across the empty void of space. For a moment, everything was still. Then, with a flash of energy weapons, the battle began. The Devourers attacked first, their ships releasing swarms of smaller fighters. But the Coalition was ready. Thanks to the humans' upgrades, their defense systems were stronger than ever. Humanity's hope was a sight to behold. It moved with surprising agility for its size, its advanced weapons tearing through Devourer ships like they were made of paper. On the command station, Chen and Zax worked together, coordinating their forces. Human tactics combined with alien knowledge of Devourer weaknesses proved to be a powerful combination. But the Devourers were not easily beaten. Their flagship started to power up a massive energy weapon, aiming straight for the Coalition's main planet. "If that hits, millions will die," Zax said, his voice shaking. Chen's eyes narrowed. "Not if we have anything to say about it. Humanity's hope, this is Captain Chen. Execute Maneuver Omega-3. To everyone's amazement, the enormous human battleship suddenly accelerated, putting itself directly between the Devourer flagship and its target. "What are they doing?" Lyra gasped. "They'll be destroyed." But as the Devourers fired their planet-killer weapon, something incredible happened. A shimmering energy field appeared around humanity's hope, absorbing the full force of the blast. For a moment, the human ship seemed to glow with captured energy. Then, with a burst of blinding light, it redirected the attack back at the Devourer fleet. The resulting explosion was spectacular. When the light faded, half of the Devourer ships were nothing but floating debris. A cheer went up from every Coalition ship and station. The Devourers, clearly shocked by this turn of events, began to retreat. As the enemy fleet disappeared back into hyperspace, Chen turned to Zax with a smile. "And that, Commander, is why you should never underestimate humans." Zax could only nod, his antennae quivering with a mix of relief and awe. I don't know what to say. You've saved us all." Chen shook her head. This was just the beginning. The Devourers will be back, and in greater numbers. But now they know they're not facing the coalition alone anymore. As the victory celebrations began around them, both human and alien knew that this battle had changed everything. A new alliance had been forged in the heat of combat, one that would reshape the galaxy forever. In the weeks following the battle, the coalition headquarters buzzed with activity. Humans and aliens worked tirelessly to prepare for the next inevitable Devourer attack. The recent victory had boosted morale, but everyone knew the war was far from over. Captain Chen stood in a large hangar, overseeing the installation of human shield generators on coalition ships. She watched as her engineers taught alien technicians how to operate the new technology. "It's amazing how quickly they're learning," remarked Lieutenant Park, who stood beside her. Chen nodded. "Necessity is a great teacher. And these aliens are smarter than we initially thought." Across the hangar, Zax was deep in conversation with a group of human tactical officers. His antennae waved excitedly as they discussed battle strategies. "I never thought I'd see the day when Zax willingly changed his tactics," said Lyra, approaching Chen. "Your people have made quite an impression on us." Chen smiled. "We're learning from you too. Your knowledge of this sector of space is invaluable." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud crash. They turned to see a human engineer and an alien worker arguing over a piece of equipment. No, you can't connect it like that," the human was saying. "It'll overload the whole system." The alien bristled, its scales turning a dark shade of green. "I've been working on these ships since before your species left its home planet." Chen and Lyra exchanged glances. Despite the growing cooperation, cultural clashes were still common. "I'll handle this," Chen said, moving towards the argument. With patience and diplomacy, she managed to calm both parties down and find a compromise that satisfied everyone. As she walked back to Lyra, the blue-skinned alien looked impressed. "You have a gift for bringing people together, Captain." Chen shrugged. "It's a necessary skill when you're dealing with a crew from dozens of different Earth nations. Compared to that, this is easy." Their conversation was cut short by a sudden alarm. Red lights began flashing throughout the hangar. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, tapping her communicator. Zax's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Captain, we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. It's not the Devourers. It's something else. Something big." Chen and Lyra rushed to the command center. The main view screen showed a swirling vortex of energy forming in space. As they watched, ships began to emerge. "By the stars," Lyra gasped. "Those are Zarkon ships, but they've been neutral in this war for years." The Zarkon were an ancient and powerful race, known for their advanced technology and isolationist policies. Their sudden appearance was unexpected and potentially game-changing. A transmission came through. On the screen appeared a Zarkon, its crystalline body glowing with internal light. "Greetings, Coalition," the Zarkon said, its voice resonating oddly. "We have observed your recent battle against the Devourers. The presence of a new species has intrigued us." Chen stepped forward. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Federation. We're here to help the Coalition against the Devourer threat." The Zarkon's glow pulsed, a sign of surprise. "Fascinating. Your technology rivals our own, yet we have no record of your species. We request a meeting." Chen looked at Zax and Lyra, who nodded encouragingly. "We would be honored," she replied. As arrangements were made for the meeting, excitement spread through the Coalition. The Zarkon's involvement could turn the tide of the war completely. Hours later, Chen found herself in a grand meeting room, facing not only the crystalline Zarkon but representatives from a dozen other alien races. Some she recognized from the Coalition, others were completely new to her. "Word of your victory has spread," the Zarkon leader said. "Many who were neutral now see hope in resisting the Devourers. We are here to discuss an alliance." Chen felt the weight of the moment. This wasn't just about saving the Coalition anymore. The decisions made here could reshape the entire galaxy. As discussions began, Chen caught Zax's eye across the room. The insectoid commander gave her a small nod, a gesture of trust and respect. Chen nodded back, then turned her attention to the task at hand. The battle against the Devourers had only been the beginning. Now, the real challenge was about to start. The grand meeting room buzzed with activity as representatives from various alien races discussed strategy. At the center of it all stood Captain Chen, her presence commanding respect from even the oldest and most powerful species. "The Devourers will strike again soon," Chen said, her voice carrying across the room. "We need to be ready." The Zarkon leader, its crystalline body shimmering, spoke up. "We agree. Our scouts report a massive buildup of Devourer forces in the Nexus sector." Gasps echoed through the room. The Nexus sector was home to a critical supply route for the Coalition. Zack stepped forward, his antennae twitching nervously. "If they take the Nexus, we'll be cut off from half our resources. We must defend it at all costs." Chen nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "Then that's where we'll make our stand. But we'll need everyone's help." For the next few hours, they planned. Each species offered what they could. The Zarkon provided advanced shield technology. Another race, the Volcrin, known for their speed, offered their fastest ships for hit-and-run attacks. The Coalition pledged their knowledge of Devourer tactics. As for the humans, they had a surprise of their own. "We've been working on something," Chen said, activating a holographic display. It showed a sleek, dangerous-looking weapon. "We call it the Nova Cannon. It can take out a Devourer capital ship with a single shot." The aliens murmured in awe. Such firepower was unheard of. However, Chen continued, "It takes a massive amount of energy to fire. We'll only get one shot." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, Lyra spoke up. "Then we'll have to make it count." As the meeting concluded, a sense of purpose filled the air. For the first time, the galaxy's various races were truly united against a common enemy. Days passed in a flurry of preparation. Ships from a dozen different species gathered in the Nexus sector, forming the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. Aboard humanity's hope, Chen stood on the bridge, watching as the last ships took their positions. Beside her, Zax and Lyra looked both nervous and excited. "It's almost hard to believe," Zax said, his compound eyes taking in the vast array of ships. "A few months ago, we were on the brink of defeat. Now look at us." Chen smiled. "Never underestimate the power of hope, Commander." Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship. A young human officer called out, "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. The Devourers are here." Chen's face hardened. "All ships, battle stations. This is what we've prepared for. Let's show them what a united galaxy can do." The space in front of them seemed to tear open as hundreds of Devourer ships poured out of hyperspace. At their center was a monstrosity of a ship, easily 3 times the size of humanity's hope. "That must be their new super Dreadnought," Lyra said, her 4 eyes wide with fear. Chen's jaw set in determination. "And that's our target for the Nova Cannon. All ships, engage as planned. Keep their fleet busy and clear us a path to that Dreadnought." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Zarkon ships phased in and out of reality, confusing Devourer targeting systems. Volcrin vessels darted between enemy ships, their speed making them almost impossible to hit. Coalition ships fought with a ferocity born of years of oppression. And at the heart of it all was humanity's hope, pushing steadily towards the Devourer super Dreadnought. The fight was fierce. Ships on both sides exploded into fiery debris. The Nexus sector, once peaceful, now lit up with the flashes of thousands of energy weapons. Despite heavy losses, the Allied fleet was holding its own. The Devourers, used to easy victories, seemed thrown off by the coordinated resistance. As humanity's hope neared its target, Chen felt the ship shudder as it took another hit. Shields at 30%, an officer reported. "We can't take much more of this." Chen's eyes never left the looming form of the enemy dreadnought. "We're almost there. Prepare the Nova Cannon. We'll only get one shot at this." As the crew rushed to obey, Chen allowed herself a small smile. Win or lose, this battle would change the galaxy forever. And humanity was at the heart of it all. The battle raged on in the Nexus sector. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and laser fire crisscrossed between ships like deadly light shows. In the midst of this chaos, humanity's hope pressed forward, inching closer to the massive Devorer's super dreadnought. On the bridge, Captain Chen gripped her command chair tightly. The ship shook violently as another volley of enemy fire struck their shields. "Shields down to 15%, shouted Lieutenant Park. His hands flew over the controls, trying to reroute power. Chen's voice remained steady as she called out, "Status on the Nova Cannon." "Charging at 80%, Captain," came the reply. "We need another 2 minutes." Chen gritted her teeth. They didn't have 2 minutes. The super dreadnought loomed larger in their view screen, its weapons already powering up for a killing blow. Suddenly, Zax's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain Chen, we see your situation. The coalition forces are moving to cover you." True to his word, a swarm of alien ships swooped in, placing themselves between humanity's hope and the Devorer forces. They took the brunt of the enemy fire, buying the humans precious time. "Nova Cannon at 95%. The weapons officer called out. Chen nodded grimly. "As soon as it's ready, fire. We won't get a second chance." The bridge fell silent, the tension palpable as everyone watched the charge meter climb. 96%, 97%, 98%. A massive blast rocked the ship, nearly knocking Chen out of her chair. "Direct hit," Park yelled. "Shields are down. Hull breach on decks 5 through 8. 99%. The super dreadnought's main cannon glowed ominously, ready to fire. 100%. "Fire the Nova Cannon," Chen roared. A blinding beam of energy erupted from humanity's hope, streaking across space towards the Devorer ship. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed like the universe held its breath. The beam struck the super dreadnought dead center. There was a moment of absolute silence. Then, the massive enemy ship exploded in a spectacular burst of light and debris. The shockwave rippled out, damaging nearby Devorer ships and scattering their formation. A cheer went up across the Allied fleet. The seemingly invincible flagship of the Devorers was no more. But the battle wasn't over yet. Though their main ship was destroyed, the remaining Devorer forces fought on with desperate fury. Chen knew they had to press their advantage. "All ships, concentrate fire on the enemy's left flank. Push them back." The Allied fleet moved as one, their attacks coordinated with a precision that would have been impossible just weeks ago. Humanity's hope, despite its damage, led the charge. Hours passed in a blur of tactical orders, explosions, and tense moments. Slowly but surely, the tide of battle turned. The Devorers, without their super dreadnought and facing an unexpectedly united opposition, began to falter. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the remaining Devorer ships turned and fled, jumping to hyperspace in a panic. As the last enemy ship disappeared, a stunned silence fell over the battlefield. Then, gradually, cheers and celebrations erupted across every Allied ship. On the bridge of humanity's hope, exhausted crew members hugged each other, laughing and crying with relief. Chen slumped in her chair, allowing herself a small smile. Zax's voice came over the comms, filled with awe. "Captain Chen, you did it. We did it. The Devorers are retreating across all fronts." Lyra chimed in, her usually calm voice excited. "News of our victory is spreading. Planets under Devourer control are rising up. The tide has turned." Chen stood up, wincing slightly from a wound she hadn't even noticed getting. "This is a great victory," she said, her voice carrying across the bridge. "But it's only the beginning. We've given the galaxy hope. Now we need to bring this war to an end." As damage reports came in and rescue operations began, Chen looked out at the starfield, now littered with the remnants of battle. The cost had been high, but they had done the impossible. They had beaten back the Devourers and united a fractured galaxy. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Chen knew one thing for certain. Humanity had found its place among the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. In the months following the Battle of Nexus, the galaxy underwent a profound transformation. The defeat of the Devourer Super Dreadnought had sparked a chain reaction, inspiring countless worlds to rise against their oppressors. The once mighty Devourer Empire was crumbling, retreating to its core worlds. On the newly established Unity Station, representatives from across the galaxy gathered to discuss the future. The station, a marvel of combined alien and human engineering, symbolized the new era of cooperation. Captain Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, stood at the center of the Grand Assembly Hall. Her uniform, adorned with medals, told the story of hard-fought victories. Beside her stood Zax, Lyra, and the Zarkon leader, along with delegates from dozens of other species. "We stand here today," Chen began, her voice carrying across the silent hall, "not just as victors in a war, but as architects of a new galactic order." She gestured to the diverse crowd. "Look around you. Just 1 year ago, many of us didn't know the others existed. Now, we stand united, stronger together than we ever were apart." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Chen continued, "The Devourers have been pushed back, but they're not defeated. Their remnants still pose a threat, but more than that, we face the challenge of rebuilding countless worlds devastated by war." Zack stepped forward, his antennae twitching with emotion. "Admiral Chen speaks the truth. We must not let our guard down, but neither can we let fear rule us any longer." Lyra nodded, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "We propose the formation of a galactic alliance, not just for defense, but for mutual growth and understanding." The Zarkon leader's crystalline body pulsed with light as it spoke. "We, who have long stood apart, now see the value of unity. The Zarkon will share our knowledge and technology for the benefit of all." One by one, representatives from different species stood up, pledging their support for the new alliance. The excitement in the room was palpable. As the meeting progressed, plans were laid out for joint scientific ventures, cultural exchange programs, and a combined peacekeeping fleet. The Nova Cannon technology would be shared, but under strict controls to prevent misuse. Humanity, despite being one of the youngest spacefaring races, found itself in a unique position. Their adaptability, innovative thinking, and diplomatic skills had earned them respect across the galaxy. "We have much to learn from each other," Chen said, wrapping up the historic meeting. "But together, I believe we can build a future brighter than any of us could have imagined." As the assembly concluded, Chen found herself looking out a large viewport at the starfield beyond. Zax approached, standing beside her in comfortable silence for a moment. "You know," Zax said finally, "when your ship first appeared, I thought it was the end for us. Instead, it was a new beginning." Chen smiled. "That's the funny thing about the universe, Commander. It's full of surprises." Just then, Lyra joined them, excitement clear in her voice. "Admiral, we're receiving reports from the far reaches of the galaxy. New species, hearing of our alliance, are reaching out. They want to join us." Chen's eyes sparkled with the prospect of new adventures, new friends, and new challenges. "Well then," she said, "we'd better prepare a warm welcome. The galaxy is about to get a lot more interesting." As news of the Galactic Alliance spread, a wave of hope and optimism swept across countless worlds. The dark days of the Devourer War began to fade into memory, replaced by dreams of a shared future among the stars. On Earth, humanity celebrated its new role in the galactic community. Schools began teaching about alien cultures, and preparations were made to welcome extraterrestrial visitors. In the years that followed, the Alliance faced many challenges. There were conflicts to resolve, disasters to overcome, and the ever-present threat of the Devourers plotting their return. But facing these challenges together, the united species of the galaxy found strength they never knew they had. And at the heart of it all was humanity, young, ambitious, and ever curious, ready to play its part in shaping the destiny of the stars. As Admiral Sarah Chen looked out at the vast expanse of space from Unity Station, she couldn't help but smile. The adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.